First at 9 this Friday, the 13th of September 2024. Gatekeeping gains. The IMF to recommence talks on the reform program following the election. Urges the government to protect the achieved progress. The ballot battle. Sri Lanka's political arena heats up as the presidential election draws closer. Relaxing restrictions. Government announces the lifting of the vehicle import ban in February next year. Easing the burden. Pay tax of both public and private sector employees to reduce from the next year onwards. Staggering collection. The Inland Revenue Department collects 1.229 trillion rupees in tax revenue within the first 8 months of this year.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දිනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Singh joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Now taking you straight to your top story this evening, the International Monetary Fund highlighted the importance for Sri Lanka to safeguard the progress of its IMF program if the nation is to fully emerge from one of the worst financial crises in its history. During a recent media briefing, the IMF's Director of Communications stated that the global lender will continue the dialogue on Sri Lanka's IMF program with the new administration established after the September 21st presidential election. The dialogue will include a discussion on the timing of the third review under the IMF's Extended Fund Facility program, which has been scheduled for mid-October.
During a media briefing yesterday, the International Monetary Fund's Director of Communications, Julie Kozak, was queried on the IMF's view on the proposal submitted to the IMF by Sri Lanka's private creditors regarding the parameters of the country's debt restructuring program.
An IMF team visited Colombo earlier in August and issued a press release at that time. As mentioned in the press release, the execution of the domestic debt restructuring and finalizing the agreement with the Official Creditor Committee and China Exim Bank are major milestones. The staff assessed the so-called joint working framework, and the staff has also provided this assessment of this framework to the Sri Lankan authorities. Furthermore, at the request of the Sri Lankan authorities, the IMF staff has shared this assessment with the financial advisors of the country's bondholders. So that is where our role has been on the debt. And I also just want to re-emphasize that with respect to debt restructuring, the IMF does not take part in the debt restructuring negotiations and discussions. Those negotiations are between the member country and its creditors, with the IMF making an overall assessment of debt sustainability.
Kozak also expressed the IMF's stance on the future of Sri Lanka's IMF program following the presidential election on the 21st of this month.
With respect to the upcoming presidential elections, this is for the people of Sri Lanka to decide. From the IMF's position, what we see is a program that has made significant achievements, but that it is important to safeguard these achievements to enable the country to fully emerge from one of its worst crises. And the timing of the third review will be discussed with the government following the elections. So we will move forward with program discussions after the presidential elections take place.
Horizon Campus 2024 Intake 2. Register now.
කවුද ඔයා මෙච්චර ලස්සන්ට වෙනස් කළේ?
වෙනස් මනුස්සෙක්. දිලිත් වෙනස් මනුස්සෙක්. රටක් වෙනස් කරන්නට තරුවෙන්.
වැඩිම මනාපෙන් ජනතා තේරීම මෙවරත්.
සුදේශී ඔරිජිනල් කුහුඹම තමයි.
Now in other news, the Cabinet has granted approval to reduce the personal income tax of both the government and the private sector employees from the next year onwards. The proposal has already been submitted to the International Monetary Fund and has been approved by the global lender.
The Cabinet of Ministers approved the resolution to include a proposal to reduce the personal income tax for both government and private sector employees from next year onwards in the next budget proposal. The relevant proposal is the International Monetary Fund's counter-proposal to that submitted by the government regarding the amendment of the personal income tax structure. Accordingly, it has been proposed to reduce the 3,500 rupee pay-as-you-earn tax imposed on individuals earning a monthly salary of of 150,000 rupees by 500 rupees to 3,000 rupees. The current 10,500 rupee tax imposed on individuals earning 200,000 rupees per month is to be reduced by 2,100 rupees to 8,400 rupees. For individuals with a monthly income of 2,500 rupees, the current 21,000 rupee tax is to be reduced by 4,800 rupees to 16,200 rupees. Individuals earning 3,000 rupees per month would see an 8,600 rupee reduction to their current 35,000 rupee tax, bringing it down to 26,400 rupees. Individuals receiving a monthly salary of 350,000 rupees would see a 13,500 rupee reduction in the current 52,500 rupee tax imposed on them, bringing it down to 39,000 rupees. Additionally, individuals earning between 400,000 to a million rupees per month would see their monthly personal income tax deductions be reduced by 16,500 rupees. The amended personal income tax structure is expected to be in effect from April 2025, contingent on parliamentary approval for the budget proposal.
Now, in election-related news, the Election Commission has decided to allow vehicles carrying representatives of presidential candidates to escort vehicles transporting ballot boxes from polling stations to counting centres. The decision of the top election office follows concerns raised by politicians and candidates regarding the safe transport of ballot boxes to counting centres after polling.
As the crucial presidential election draws closer, the Election Commission has announced measures to ensure the security of ballot boxes during the poll. The Election Commission has announced that the vehicles carrying representatives of presidential candidates will be permitted to escort the vehicles transporting ballot boxes from polling stations to counting centres. However, in order to be allowed to escort such vehicles, an authorised representative of the candidate must submit a detailed report to the District Election Office 3 days before the polling day, specifying the polling station, details of the vehicle and the name of the representative. According to the Commission, this decision comes in response to concerns raised by some politicians and candidates regarding the integrity of the ballot boxes during transit. Meanwhile, during a meeting convened by the Election Commission, the top polling authority stated that voters are forbidden to carry mobile phones to the polling station while ballots are being cast.
We
have granted special permission for political parties to submit early requests to escort vehicles transporting ballot boxes from polling stations to the final checkpoint of counting centres. When you visit a polling station, you might bring both your national identification card and your poll card. Additionally, please note that it is prohibited to bring mobile phones, bags or other personal items into the polling station while votes are being cast.
Meanwhile, election observers requested the granting of additional leave for employees of the private and semi-government sectors in order to allow them to exercise their right of franchise.
We
request employers of the private and semi-government sectors to provide sufficient leave for their employees in order to allow them to cast their votes conveniently. If an employer fails to comply with the law and does not grant adequate leave, they could be produced before court. If found guilty, they could be fined up to 200,000 rupees along with the possibility of serving 1 month in prison.
Now, while highlighting that candidates of the opposition do not offer what the youth require, independent candidate President Ranil Wickremesinghe assured that he is ready to provide the necessary change that the youth demand. Addressing an event in Colombo, the president said that those who ran away without taking the responsibility when the country was going through its darkest hour do not deserve to be in the president's office.
The event, named Puluwan Peraliya to support President Ranil Wickremesinghe's candidacy in the upcoming presidential election, was held in Colombo last evening.
The election is about your future, not mine. We all knew the government of Mahinda Rajapaksa, Prime Minister, couldn't go on and someone had to take over. But there was no one there. They ran away. So they left you in the lurch. And now they want you to vote and make them the president. In short, that is what it means. all these people. Very, very difficult for me to think of raising VAT. But the options were even worse. And it paid off because at least the rupee stabilized and there's some relief that could be going. But there's a lot more to be done. It will take you 5 to 10 years to get a strong economy going. Now when it comes to 10 years, who does it affect? Next 10 years is valuable for whom? All of you who are about to start off in life. So you must have a strong economy within the next 10 years. That is the key. One that will be a modern economy and a competitive economy. That's what I want to give you. That's what I'm asking, what I'm saying this country should be. What are the alternatives? What is the SJB offering you? Do they know what they're offering? Because there are 2 manifestos. Then what is there in the NPP manifesto? They won't answer the question. They don't know whether they are for export-oriented economy or whether they are for a import substitution economy. They won't answer that question. I said answer that question, then we can debate. We can debate with the involvement of the IMF. So how can you have a change when you don't know whether you want to import, substitute an economy or export economy? They have got around this by saying that we are all responsible, all the political parties other than they are responsible for the state in the country. They had nothing to do, poor guys. Someone came, used their name and had uprising in 87. They should go and charge them now and ask for damages that their name was used. Venasa, what is the Venasa they want? They must tell us that. If they don't know the Venasa they want, then how can you vote for it? Ask them what are they going to do for the 2025 budget. They said, no, we'll get the money that was stolen back. And they were quoting the Anti-Corruption Bill Act. Anti-Corruption Act, we can't get the money back. They are not offering what the young people want. They are just saying, everyone has failed, give us a chance. But they have failed already. So are you going to entrust your future to them? It's your future. Take charge of it and decide to go ahead with it. It's you who have to decide. 2048 is not even 25 years more. Most of you will not even be 50. You won't be 50. So decide where you want to live. How do you want to live? And then you must come and take responsibility for making your future. We'll provide you with the opportunities. Are you willing? We'll all take the challenge. Are you willing to take the challenge? You come along. I'll show you the way. Thank you.
Presidential candidate of the Samagi Jana Sandhane, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa emphasized the importance of allowing Sri Lankan people to exercise their democratic rights without the threat of violence during the election. Addressing an election rally, Premadasa requested the people to grant him a mandate with which he assured to create an era of the people.
A rally in support of the Samagi Jana Sandhane's presidential candidate, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa, was held in Debaravawa this afternoon.
Anura Kumara
Disanayaka filed a case with the Supreme Court. They claim that policies we presented to establish an export-oriented economy and to bring in foreign direct investments are against the country's constitution. We cannot establish industrial zones without foreign investors. We are unable to generate required jobs without gathering all local entrepreneurs. The JP has presented an economic policy which will push Sri Lanka into a worse economic predicament.
මේ මොහොත වන විට ජයවර්ධනපුර විශ්වවිද්‍යාලය ප්‍රචණ්ඩත්වය නිසා භීෂණය නිසා වසා දමලා.
The University of Sri Jayawardhanapura has been closed due to violence at the moment. Is there no right for the people to engage in politics without the threat of violence? Will the people of Sri Lanka allow fascism to take root? On the date of the presidential polls, confidently cast your vote to create an era of the people. Give us your support and we promise to protect you. 1 million people have been left in the dark due to power outages. All of you must be aware that my government will take care of the 1 million people experiencing power cuts at the moment. Ranil and Anura are opposed to such initiatives. They are also opposed to creating 1 million new entrepreneurs. Therefore, support us to obtain the people's mandate on the 21st to defeat Ranil Wickremesinghe and Anura Kumara Disanayaka.
Meanwhile, a convention of Samurdhi beneficiaries was held this morning under the patronage of Samagi Jana Sandhane's presidential candidate, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa.
අපි අලුත් දුප්පත්කම තුරන් කිරීම
We will implement a program to eradicate poverty. We will extract the best programs such as Janasaviya, Samurdhi, Aswasuma and Gamideriya to formulate our plan to eradicate poverty. Within a span of 24 months, we expect to provide financial packages of 20,000 rupees for each family suffering from poverty through a 5-fold program that focuses on investments, saving, consumption, production and exports. We also plan on implementing another program aimed at providing financial stimuli. Under a SJB-led government, we will implement programs aimed at poverty eradication efficiently and effectively. There are 3 members representing the JVP who have never spoken of poverty eradication. I think they want poverty to further proliferate, since the hardships perpetuated by poverty could be used to satisfy their political hunger. Their main aim is the proliferation of poverty.
Leader and presidential candidate of the National People's Power, Andrakumar Dissanayake, claims that their government will be committed to create a prosperous country while uplifting its standard of living. Addressing an election rally, Dissanayake further claimed that their government will grant the right of economic democracy for every individual in the country.
An election rally in support of National People's Power's presidential candidate and leader Anurakumar Dissanayake was held in Monaragala today.
We are neither magicians nor miracle workers. However, we are committed to creating a prosperous country and uplifting its standard of living. We have created the necessary program to that end. We have strong people to implement it. Once we are elected to office, we are ready to fulfill our duty in rebuilding the country. All of you have to support us. We will be establishing a decisive government. Unlike other governments, the government we form will resurrect both the country and its people. Our political campaigns never targeted officers. We do not care about them. The office of the president might be a big deal for others, but it is not for us. We will confiscate stolen assets. Following my remarks, Sajith Premadasa also claims that he will incarcerate the thieves. The power transfer this time is not normal. It will be Sri Lanka's largest political transformation. Let's do that in order to uplift both the economy and the lives of the people.
In the meantime, an entrepreneurial conference of the National People's Power was held yesterday in Matara under the patronage of the party's leader and presidential candidate Anurakumar Dissanayake.
We must establish the right for everyone to enter the economy equally. That is the economic democracy. Our conceptual approach to the problem of unemployment is wrong. The current perception is that offering state sector employment is the way to reduce unemployment. That is not the right approach. Jobs are created within industries, but we think that the government creates jobs. They hire employees for the Department of Agrarian Development and divisional secretariats. Nothing productive happens. We need to create an economy outside of the government. For that, we need more industries, more businesses and more entrepreneurs. We have presented the concept of development banks to address that issue. Then the economy will start to flourish. Afterwards, new job opportunities will be created and new entrepreneurs will grasp opportunities. We need to plan how we will expose them to the world. That is the path of economic revival. Recently, President Ranil Wickremesinghe challenged me to elaborate on our path for economic revival. Debates about the economy should be done in a certain manner. We are ready to hold a formal debate. Then the President asks us to bring the International Monetary Fund into the mix as well. That is unfair because the IMF has not nominated a presidential candidate. There is no point in talking about Sajith Premadasa. We have a responsibility that we cannot forego. This is the moment for us to decide whether we are going to tread along the same path or change it. We invite you to join us in changing our current trajectory.
Star dishwasher Dali Hell Indul Pahasuwen Sede. Star dishwasher magic top picker.
Crunchy goodness for hunger on the go.
Chandurusune kagen manape Singer TV. Singer TV සඳහා සුපිරි deal.
Welcome back. Now in other political news, presidential candidate of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna Namal Rajapaksa vows to build Sri Lanka as the fastest developing nation in South Asia within the next 10 years. Addressing a gathering, the SLPP's presidential candidate further claimed that their government will pass laws to curb animal cruelty while also allocating sufficient resources to address the human-elephant conflict.
A Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna electorate meeting was held in Thalava, pledging support to the party's presidential candidate Namal Rajapaksa.
Why are they attempting to defame the Rajapaksas? When people attend our meetings, JVP supporters call them various names. That is the deplorable conduct of those trying to secure power at the moment. They insult our presidential candidate by posting disgusting comments on social media. They talk about the country's culture while wearing expensive clothes. They try to scare us by threatening us with violence. I would like to remind them that we aren't afraid of their threats.
The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna is a political movement created by the people. We are a political party that worked well. We are ready to embrace the challenge again. Do not fear, I will develop this country. We will take on the responsibility of handing over a developed country to our children. Within the next 10 years, we will turn Sri Lanka into the fastest growing nation in South Asia.
Meanwhile, another electorate meeting of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna was held in Kandy today.
Our government developed the upcountry region. If former President Mahinda Rajapaksa had not developed the 18 hairpin bend road, we would not have been able to start this meeting on time. People who use that road on a daily basis know the difference between the road back then and now. Some people take issue with the elephants being used in the Kandy procession. A lot of those people, however, remain silent when elephants wreak havoc and kill civilians living on the other end of the 18 hairpin bend road. The village folk are the only ones left to advocate for the electric fence. We are completely against animal cruelty and we will pass laws to fight against it. Along with it, we will allocate resources to address the human-elephant conflict by setting up electric fences and elephant passes. We are committed to that end because our roots are also in our villages.
A presidential candidate of the Sarvajana Balaya, Dilith Jayavira, asserts that Sri Lanka must deviate from traditional political attitudes in order to implement the change which the country requires at the moment. Addressing a gathering, the Sarvajana Balaya's presidential candidate went on to request the people of Sri Lanka to make use of the upcoming presidential election set to take place on the 21st of September as an opportunity to implement the change that the public requires.
Another iteration of the Liyabala Women's Convention was held in Anuradhapura this evening under the patronage of presidential candidate of the Sarvajana Balaya, Dilith Jayavira. Dilith Jayavira promises us that women will be prioritized while developing a happy nation. Women must be able to proudly cast their vote today. The Sarvajana Balaya will grant that respect and pride to all women. Through our strategic work plan, we propose to implement a beneficiary program dubbed Hite Haya, which stands in stark contrast to the fraudulent relief programs such as Aswasuma, Samurdhi and Janasavir. We propose through this program that the minimum revenue of each household should be 100,000 rupees. We will motivate your entrepreneurial mindset and self-confidence through a program which provides the required capital, support and knowledge to ensure your personal development. We will also provide a minimum relief package of 40,000 rupees whenever necessary with government intervention. We cannot revive Sri Lanka's economy otherwise. Deviate from this traditional political attitude to inspire this change. Meanwhile, another iteration of the Dilith Gamata series of electorate rallies was held in Kaduruwela, Polonnaruwa today under the patronage of presidential candidate of the Sarvajana Balaya, Dilith Jayavira.
අපේ රටේ ආර්ථිකයේ 30%ක් කෘෂි කර්මාන්තය තිබුණා. 2022 මේ අර්බුදය පුපුරා යන වෙලාවේ කෘෂි කර්මාන්තය අපේ ආර්ථිකයේ 109යි. ඒක නිසා තමයි අපි සර්වඥන බලය හැටියට අපි අපේ උපාය මාර්ගික වැඩපිළිවෙලෙන් යෝජනා කරන්නේ කෘෂි කර්මාන්තයේ නව තාක්ෂණය පාවිච්චි කරලා ඉදිරියට වර්ධනය කළ යුතුයි.
දැන් අනුර කුමාර අද නියෝජනය කරන්නේ
Anura Kumara represents a group of people who detest the system. People are being led by such myths. This is a golden opportunity. I request you all to make use of this as an opportunity to implement the change that you expect. A star will shine in Polonnaruwa on the 21st and you are that star. Cast your vote under the star sign to form a happy nation.
මේ ඔබ සියලු දෙනාටම එකසේ සතුටු වේ හැකි සතුටු දෙයක් නිර්මාණය වේවා.
Welcome back. Now, the government has decided to remove the restrictions placed on the importation of vehicles, with vehicle imports expected to recommence from the 1st of October onwards. State Minister of Finance Ranjit Siambalapitiya claims that the decision was taken in light of the recent improvement in Sri Lanka's foreign exchange reserves.
Cabinet approval has been granted to remove the restrictions placed on the import of vehicles. According to State Minister of Finance Shehan Semasinghe, the importation of vehicles will recommence in stages starting from the 1st of October. The first category of vehicles that would be permitted to be imported will be those used to provide public transportation services. The importation of vehicles used for cargo transportation and other commercial purposes will recommence from the 1st of December. Importation of personal vehicles is slated to recommence from the 1st of February next year.
දැන් අපි ළඟ තියෙනවා ඩොලර් බිලියන 6ක් විතර සල්ලි. මේ ආනයන නවත්තලා විනිමය පාලනයක් ඇති කරගත්ත රට වාහන ගේන්නත් අද කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලය අවශ්‍ය ලබා දුන්නා.
Now, meanwhile, Sri Lanka's Inland Revenue Department reports that the total tax revenue collected from January to August this year stands at a staggering 1.229 trillion rupees. The cumulative value of tax revenue generated from January to August 2024 depicts an increase of 28.5% in comparison with values of the corresponding time period last year. During the same period in 2023, tax revenue stood at 956 billion rupees. According to statistics released by the IRD, corporate and non-corporate income tax recorded the highest tax revenue collection of 624 billion rupees for the time period from January to August 2024. The Commissioner General of Inland Revenue Department attributed this increase to several factors, including new tax policies, a gradual improvement in the island nation's economy, as well as enhanced tax administration efficiency. That's all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you. Have a great night.